Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel and big hello and welcome to Michelle Elman. Woo-hoo-hoo! Michelle is an absolute fabulous writer, author, body positive advocate, but then also just like relationship dating guru, life coach, queen of boundaries.
Yes, that label I've not been able to get rid of.
I think you came up with it though, didn't you? Now it's stuck.
It's stuck in a media article, and then and then my followers started using it, and then suddenly it was like,
that's what I call you as well.
Might as well use it. So
queen of boundaries. But yes, Michelle has written some fabulous books. We have Am I Ugly?
Yes.
Do you want to do a quick one-liner about that one?
Body image, body positivity, chronic illness, how I survived 15 surgeries.
I remember after my surgeries getting lunch with you as well, and you being just so helpful.
It was way before. No, and also,
and the ones after just being like,
and
hey,
also it was
surgery pals.
Yeah. I think also you were struggling with the scar and also the change in your body, and that it kind of came out of nowhere as well. Like obviously you'd had past stuff, but it hadn't been in your life for so long.
Michelle, seasoned surgery person and covered in scars.
To be fair, I just had the last year similar. Like I'd not had a health issue in like 15 years, and then this last year has just been like one after another. It's a horrible shock when it comes back into your life and you're like, oh, but it never left. It just got amplified.
Oh no, yeah. That sucks. But something that doesn't suck.
Good segue.
What a segue. Is your then second book, The Joy of Being Selfish, which is where your like Queen of Boundaries
came from.
Title came from. This is all about like setting boundaries in all kinds of relationships.
Yeah, how I went from basically a people pleaser, pushover, to Queen of Boundaries. Yeah, basically realised that I had been letting the people in my life treat me really badly, and it was my wake-up call to how to change that, how I create, and also the best thing I use as a tool as a life coach was always boundaries, and it was the thing that changed other people's life the most. So I was like, got to write a book on it.
Write a whole damn book about it. Yes, and then out now, just released, brand new shiny book, The Selfish Romantics. It's kind of like applying all of that to dating and relationships.
Yes, and the last 8 years of being single and loving dating, which I think is actually quite a controversial statement.
I was the same when I was single for a long time.
You also loved being single and also talked about it in such a positive way, but I feel like the whole internet usually moans about it, talks about all the negative aspects of it, and especially when you're like, for me, I'm plus size, I have scars on my stomach, I am mixed race, all of these things that society tells you limits your dating pool. I was like, this is not the reality of my life, and I feel like we don't have the positive experiences of it, because anytime I got on a panel, people would ask me about body shaming in dating or being fetishized in dating, and I was like, can I get some positive questions? Because if you ask me a question like that, I have to tell you about the one negative experience I had when I was 18 years old, and you're like forgetting the last decade of my life to selectively answer your question. And you're like, I've got lots
of saucy stories.
I know, can I tell you some of the fun stories? And then all the other people on the panel would get all the fun stories, and I'm like, I bet they have bad experience in dating too, but because I look like the way I look, I get certain types of questions, and it always frustrated me. So it's a whole book of positive dating experiences.
I love that. And yeah, I wanted to get Michelle on the channel to basically help you guys with your dating dilemmas, because you're just so good.
And I love a Q&A.
Yeah, so good at giving advice, and like definitely follow Michelle on Instagram, because the punchy, just like specifically like what to say in situations.
Hannah's trying to be subtle about saying the fact that I'm very direct and sometimes a little bit too blunt.
Which is a good thing in my books. But I think people often are looking for like really practical advice as well, and I think you deliver that.
Thank you so much.
So I'm really excited.
And I also want to say none of these books would happen without Hannah, because Hannah gave me a place in her book before I even got a book deal. And it was at her book launch event that I met another author, Holly Bourne, who introduced me to my agents, and I changed agents, and within 2 months I got a book deal. So nothing would happen without Hannah. So I'm very grateful to you for always.
Oh, well, thank you just for being so wonderful. I'm really excited to hear your advice to the lovely people, and just take it away.
Right, so let's get into it. Let's answer some of your questions. So first up, a question asking, I just turned 29 and I'm very excited about having sex, but I haven't had either sex or a relationship yet. My questions are, should I tell the people I date that I've never had sex yet? I'd rather not, as I've been told that people might get worried about the whys. Basically, they're a mix of introversion, insecurities, and former religious beliefs about waiting for marriage. And I'm not sure I want to open that can of worms. But I've also been told that it could be very disrespectful to the person I'm dating if I didn't say it. So here's the thing. When it comes to your history or lack of history, that is your business. You do not owe anyone that information. Now, there's a difference between wanting to tell someone that information because you are more comfortable and wanting to tell other people that information because you feel like you're obliged to. Within your question, it seems like you feel like this is information they are owed, and they aren't. They don't need to know, but oftentimes when you're trying something new, especially with another person involved, you do want them to know the context so that they can help you out, they can give you more guidance, they're able to suggest things along the way. And that can make you more comfortable if you're nervous, in the same way that if I was nervous on a date, I would just say I was nervous. If I'm nervous in the bedroom because it's my first time, I would just tell that person. But the key is you don't have to. And all of the reasons why you think you have to, whether it's because it's disrespectful or not, it isn't, because there's a difference between privacy and honesty, and you don't owe that person that information. And you might feel that you haven't earned that trust or vulnerability, that you want to open up about something that's really quite personal to you. Even if you do decide to tell that person in order to feel more comfortable, you don't need to give your reasons why, you don't need to justify it. It's not something you have to explain to another person. And if you do feel like you have to, oftentimes that's because you're insecure about it. In my experience, most people do not care about your past experience or lack of experience. If they judge you based on that, that's not a person you should be sleeping with. Next up, I've been single for 2 years. I enjoy being free and having a lot of time for reading or meeting with friends. Recently, one of my friends started dating and was immediately very successful and popular and found a great date. I decided to give dating apps a shot too, but it was a miserable experience for me, which made me feel discouraged and unattractive. I felt happy being single and having a celebrity crush, but now it feels less like a choice and more like a curse. How to go about changing my mindset? Well, first of all, if you find being on dating apps miserable, don't be on dating apps. Life is too short to do something that makes you miserable. But I do think there's something really interesting in your language. The fact that you use the word successful and popular makes me think there's some underlying belief or insecurity around this that perhaps is coming from your past. When it comes to dating apps, the key isn't to get the most matches. The key is to get the most accurate matches. And so it doesn't matter if someone's getting more matches or even more conversations or more dates. What matters is that when you go on a date, the person is actually a match for you. And you have to change your mindset around the fact that going on more dates doesn't necessarily equate to having a better dating experience. If you go on a date and you're not a good match, then that's not going to be a good experience either. So it's better that you go on less dates, but actually the people who end up on a date with you are enjoying your company because you've presented an accurate representation of yourself via your dating profile. So stop the comparisons, stop comparing your dating life to your friends. Everyone goes on their own journey, but also actually ask yourself, do you want to be dating? It sounds like you're a very happy single, and it's okay to stay single. The pressure from society, the pressure from your friend, the pressure from being the single one in your friendship group makes it really understandable why we think we all have to be dating. But actually, being single is a valid life choice, and there's nothing wrong with staying single and not going on dates. So let's talk about boundaries. How do you tell the difference between healthy compromise and disrespecting our boundary? I've always had trouble setting boundaries, but then I feel I might have overcorrected. I became really stubborn, this all or nothing mindset, because I was so afraid of falling back into old habits and letting people walk all over me again. How do I know when it's safe to let something go? So I think the biggest key to this is knowing the difference between boundaries and walls. Boundaries are firm. It's like a house. You let people in through the door. It's not like you're locked up and you never let any of the doors or the windows open. Walls are literally building a brick wall around that house and not letting anyone in. So knowing that difference will be your start. When it comes to healthy compromise, I hate the word compromise because it implies that it's automatically a lose-lose situation. No one is fully getting what they want. You need to look underneath the boundary and look at the unmet need. You need to set the boundary around that, and you can't control any other aspect of it. So instead of thinking of it as compromise, think of it as two unmet needs. And most of the time, you are able to fulfill both needs if you look at it as an unmet need and not the surface interaction. So an example of that is, I want you to be texting me more, and the other person saying they need space. Okay, well, what is the texting you more actually giving you? well, it's giving me connection. Great. Is there another way where you can have connection? The other person might not want to be on their phone as much. So if you look at it from a compromise mindset, one person would have to be on their phone more than they would like. Whereas if you look at it from a boundaries perspective, if you look underneath it, look at the unmet need of I want more connection, that other person can still maintain their phone boundaries, not be on their phone as much as they like, but find other ways to connect. So maybe that's doing a phone call once a day instead of texting, because that's more connected than texting all day. So when you're able to look under the what seems like superficial problem, you're able to actually satisfy both people. When it comes to overcorrecting, a lot of the time that happens because, as you said, you're scared of becoming a people pleaser again, and therefore you go into the boundary firmer. Instead, have the confidence that you will be able to reinforce the boundary if it gets crossed at a later date. Great, let's talk about relationships. So my partner and I have been together nearly 6 months and we still haven't had an argument. We've had minor disagreements, but we've always discussed it and either agreed to disagree or come to a resolution. Everything I've read and been told says in any good relationship, you have to have a few proper arguments, as it shows you're open with each other, but we are already super open about everything. This is why we can't listen to the social media advice around love, because then we're always still comparing our relationships to what should be happening rather than what's actually happening in your relationship. I had the exact same worry. I didn't fight with my boyfriend for probably the first year, and trust me, eventually it will happen, but it's not a necessity in order to have a healthy relationship. You have to understand that the average or the norm in society is bad communication. And so when someone says a fight or a disagreement, everyone labels those words in different ways. So to one person, it could be a disagreement. To one person, it could be a fight. Even within the same relationship, one person can think it was a fight and one person can think it was a disagreement or a conflict. People use different words to describe the same thing. As long as you're communicating, and the main worry with never having a fight is that one person is burying their needs or being a people pleaser in order to keep that person around, or because they have a fear that if they voice their true feelings, that person would leave. And it's usually because one person is conflict avoidant. As long as that's not happening, there is no issue with having good communication and being able to agree to disagree or being able to resolve the issue. That just shows you both have good boundaries and you know how to work around an issue without having hurt feelings or raised voices, and that's a great thing, so you should be really proud of yourself. The next question is, how do you not end up being their mum? So the key is there's a difference between giving care and caretaking. Knowing what is your responsibility and what isn't your responsibility is the key. So knowing which emotions are yours, which emotions are theirs, which problems are yours, which problems are theirs. And then when it comes to them dealing with a situation, you not taking on board the emotions. So let's say your partner got fired. You can feel empathy, you can feel sympathy for them without you actually feeling angry for them. Because what happens in a situation like this is if you're angry for them and you're feeling that emotion on their behalf, number one, you can't resolve it because you can't resolve any emotions that aren't in your own body, but also you are then overtaking their emotions, so they aren't given the space to feel their own emotions. When it also comes to being their mum, there's a lot around emotional labor. There's a lot around doing things for that person. So an example that's just come to mind is one of my friends was always complaining about how their partner never booked flights, so she would always do it for him. And actually, you have to remember there's a difference between reminding your partner that they need to book for flights and actually getting on a computer and doing it themselves. It's that very old cliche saying of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So you can remind them as much as you want. And to be honest, I personally would only remind them once, but they have to learn that lesson themselves. So remind them once, and if they forget, then that's on them. And if they forget to book their flights, they forget to book their flights. They will learn from it and they will do it next time. If you take over and do it for them, of course they're never going to learn. Of course they're never going to do it themselves because they've never needed to. And that's the same with emotions, as I was talking about earlier. If you feel their emotions for them, then they're never going to learn how to do that either. And something that is really close to my heart, because I am a person who also has chronic illnesses and I've been through 15 surgeries. So let's talk about chronic illnesses when it comes to relationships. I'm permanently physically disabled with constant nerve pain, and I also have ADHD and autism. I'm in a new relationship, and while my partner also has ADHD, he was diagnosed as a child, and my physical disability and chronic pain do complicate things. How do I navigate trying to feel comfortable in a new relationship? I'm terrified that I'll become a burden on my partner. I'm scared of negatively impacting his life, and I'm terrified of becoming too much for him and being dumped and left brokenhearted. It's hard to feel secure and to be healthily attached when I feel like I'm a burden. I so understand this, and I also went through the same thing when I was in the beginning stages of my own relationship. And I think how I dealt with it, there's no perfect way to deal with this because it's such a problem that isn't discussed. But the way I dealt with it was by opening up about those fears, about those worries. I would tell my partner things like, I feel like you're going to leave me because I'm having one health issue after another. Or I would tell my partner, oh, I'm worried you're going to see me at my worst and see what happens when I'm having the worst migraine, or I'm having to call 111 or having to call A&E. And every time I had that moment of vulnerability and I was in one of those really awful health days, and I let that person in a little bit every time, it actually gave our relationship the opportunity to strengthen and build the trust for the next time. And every time I thought the next instance would be the one to make them run, the one for them to bail, it just never happened. And that's not to say it won't ever happen with other people, but it won't ever happen with the right person. There are so many people in my life who have bailed when it's come to my health. The first guy I ever liked bailed the day after he said I love you because I went into hospital and then ghosted me for 6 months. It does happen. And when it happened, the first thing I actually thought is fair enough. Like, if I had a choice to be in this situation, I wouldn't choose to be in this situation. So of course he's bailing, of course he's ghosting. But now that I'm not 19 years old, I would go back to myself in that situation and go, it's very different being in the position of being in that hospital bed versus being a person who has to support it. It is not one and the same. And any decent person, even if it was too much for him, would have communicated that. And so you aren't a burden. You're not too much. You just need to find the right person who won't think it's a big deal. And there are people out there who don't think it's a big deal, who will reassure you when you have these worries about being a burden. But in order to find those people, you actually need to have that moment of vulnerability to let that person in. Whether that's letting them accompany you to a doctor's appointment or letting them accompany you to an MRI scan. All of those moments don't happen overnight, but letting them in slowly, letting them see you on your worst pain days are ways where you can build that connection. And I truly believe, having come out the other side, not that my pain's gone anywhere, but that we've gone through literally the worst health I could have imagined this year, you come out stronger for it, and there will reach a point where you genuinely will actually believe that there is nothing that will make that person run because they've already seen the worst. And to be honest, if I could go back to that 19-year-old who was going through that situation, I actually think the person who I would blame is society. Society has told you this message of you're a burden, that being chronically ill means that you are less lovable, harder to be with. But the truth is, everyone is difficult to be with for different reasons. You have your chronic illness, but other people can be really difficult to deal with because they don't know how to deal with conflict, because they swear when they get into arguments, because they get hurtful when they get into arguments. They are all one and the same. Society wants to claim that chronic illness or whatever difference you have, whatever marginalization you have makes you so difficult. But actually, there are personality things that make being in a relationship so hard that aren't discussed to the same level. Having someone who doesn't know how to communicate is a really difficult thing to be in a relationship with, but we don't see it the same way because we think chronic illness is this unchangeable thing, when actually trying to unlearn bad communication takes a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication and many years to actually be able to hone that skill. So the reason why I'm making this comparison is because a lot of the times we talk about these marginalized groups as if the person dating us is a saint or the person dating us is such a good human, when actually there are many reasons why you are a good human for staying with the person you're with. And I just think this message that dating someone who has chronic illness makes your partner a saint or this incredibly good human for putting up with you is what builds in this idea that one person is a burden and one person is a savior or a saint. And we need to unlearn that by realizing everyone brings different things to the table. And yes, your tough moments might be your bad health days, but their tough moments might be when they are going through grief or when they lose their job. Everyone will have tough moments in a relationship, and the same way they should stick with you on the bad health days, you also will need to stick with them on really tough life things that happen. I always think when it comes to something like, if someone's going to run because I end up in hospital, then let them run, because a lot worse things are going to happen in life. And so you need someone who isn't going to run at the first sign of anything difficult. Life has difficult things in it, and your difficult things just happen to be in the area of health. So let's talk long distance. I'm in a long distance relationship. I'm in San Francisco and he lives in London. We've been long distance for 2 years and will probably be for a few more, but with my job being remote, I'm able to spend a few months at a time in London. In doing so, I've missed a lot of family and friends events. I guess my question is it okay that I choose my relationship over the other things happening in the lives of the people I love? I think there's a lot of conversation now about that your relationship, your romantic partner can't be your whole world, when actually the truth is that we have different values and priorities in life, and those priorities will change. There will be a point in life when your career comes first. There is a point in life when your romantic relationship will come first. And there will also be a point in life when you'll be able to be together and you'll be able to have the best of both worlds. You'll be able to attend your friends' and family's events and also have your partner at them. But in this period, it's totally understandable you want to put your relationship first. It's totally understandable that you're needing more time and energy to put into your romantic relationship in order to make it work. Long distance is hard, and the people in your life who love you will understand. And if they don't understand, explain it to them. And if they still don't understand, then that's okay. That's the choice you're making. As long as you are happy with the choice you're making, that's all that matters. I think when it comes to society, I think a lot of the guilt comes from the fact a lot of the conversation on social media now is to be strong, to be independent, almost to the point where it encourages hyper-independence, that people are shamed for putting your romantic relationship first. But the truth is, with our loss of community in general as a society, we have become more reliant on our romantic partner as our community. And so it makes sense at certain points in your life that person is going to come first. Now, of course, it's really important to have a wider support system, but even if you're across the world from your friends and family, there are ways of staying in touch. Thankfully, because of technology, we could still be there for the other people in our life, even if we're not in the same country as them. So even if you can't attend the event, being able to call them, congratulate them, sending them a gift from across the world, all of these things are viable options to show the people in your life that you love them, you care about them, you wish you could be there, but you also can't be in two places at once. So every week I do a Boundary Win Friday where I talk about boundaries that people have set, and I won't lie, the most common one I hear is setting boundaries with your in-laws. So I've got a question here on it. How to deal with them not accepting you for your race, beliefs, and how to respect them despite disagreeing with how they treat their son. So again, when it comes to boundaries, you actually need to know what is your business and what's not your business. Your partner is fully capable of standing up for themselves. Your partner is fully capable of having a conversation with their own parents and managing that relationship themselves. You need to believe that your partner is fully capable to handle their own relationship with their own parents, and some of it will be none of your business. Now, if you witness something that you don't like, feel free to take them aside and say to them, hey, I didn't like the way they spoke to you, and I just want you to know that I don't believe you're a difficult person to be with. So let's say you witness them saying that he's really difficult and really stubborn, and it really hurts your feelings to hear this in front of you. Now, it's up to him to defend himself. You could take him aside and still go, hey, by the way, for the record, I don't believe you're stubborn and I don't believe you're difficult. And that way you're supporting them. You're telling them that you are in their corner, you believe in them, but also you're able to give them the space to be able to stand up for themselves, and being able to have that support in the room, even if it's not overt, even if you've not said it to the parents. Now, if they address it to you and they say something to you like, oh, don't you think he's the most difficult person to be with? That's when it's your business, because you're being directly spoken to. You're being involved in the conversation. You're being brought in to treat your partner badly, at which point you could go, actually, I don't. And I don't think that's a very nice thing to say either. When it comes to things like race and beliefs, I've had the same thing. I once didn't meet one of my ex's parents because, in his words, they were racist. and so he didn't want to put me in that line of fire. And the key is that you're allowed to have separate relationships. So if they are treating you in a way you don't want to be treated, just because your partner is going to see their parents doesn't mean you have to come with. And if you're able to explain that to your partner and say, hey, it just makes me really uncomfortable, especially when it comes to my beliefs and when it comes to my race, the way they talk to me, the way they treat me isn't acceptable, then it also gives your partner to reciprocate in supporting you in your decisions. You shouldn't have to be in the room with anyone who disrespects your identity in any way. And so you're able to step out of those situations and not go to every family event. There will be times you'll want to do it. You'll want to do it on behalf of your partner. You'll want to be in attendance because for whatever reason, maybe it's celebrating your partner. And that's okay, but making that conscious decision, knowing why you're in the room, means that when you're being disrespected, you can see it as almost a transactional thing. I'm here to support my partner, and all the comments, all the opinions I'm having to deal with as a result are none of my business. That way you can emotionally detach from the things that are being said. Now, of course, you can only really emotionally attach to a certain extent because it's still disrespectful things being said. But at least you know why you're in the room, and you're not going because you feel obliged to or because you feel like your partner would get upset if you didn't attend. So the two keys to handling difficult relationship with in-laws is 1, limit the information they have access to, and 2, also create more distance where possible. And it's going to be completely your choice what information you want to withhold, and it's also your choice where it's possible to create that distance. But being able to control those two things helps lessen their impact on you and your daily life. And that's it. That's all your questions. We had so many more, but this is all we have time for. And thank you so much for watching. And thank you so much to Hannah for providing this space to answer some of your questions. I hope some of those answers were useful. If you would like to find me online, I'm mainly on Instagram, but I'm also on TikTok and Twitter at Michelle Elman. And my new book is out now called The Selfish Romantic. It's all about how to date without hating yourself. And it's about my 8 years of being single and loving dating and how I learned to get that confidence and also just that fun that a lot of people don't talk about when it comes to their dating life. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you soon.